Well, the FBI says the Orlando terrorist was likely radicalized by extremist material published online. Now, the father of a 23-year-old Paris terror victim is suing Facebook, Twitter, and Google for enabling ISIS. But Facebook and Twitter say it is without merit, while Google declined to comment on pending litigation. In their statements, all three companies pointed to their own policies that prohibit the publication of extremist material. Well, here's part of Facebook's statement to show you. Here's what they say, quote, "There is no place for terrorists or content that promotes or supports terrorism. We work aggressively to remove such content as soon as we become aware of it. Anyone can report terrorist accounts, and our global team responds to these reports quickly around the clock. If we see evidence of a threat of imminent harm or a terror attack, we reach out to law enforcement. This lawsuit is, quote, without merit." Well, to the Paris victim's attorney, Keith Altman. Keith, let's start out with your reaction to that statement, because they are saying this, we reached out for a response, that's what they told us, without merit. That's what they say to you. How do you respond?
Well, I haven't seen a defendant yet that has said that any plaintiff's case has been without merit, so that's totally expected. And nobody says they don't try to do something. The question is are they doing what they can reasonably do? And that's really what this lawsuit is about. This is about behavior modification, about getting these companies to be more aggressive and be more sensible in terms of how they try to protect against allowing the use of their infrastructures for terrorism.
So you're representing, of course, Ronaldo Gonzalez.
That's correct.
Has followed this. His daughter died in Paris, 23 years old.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. What types of evidence, and I know that some of it you've already had to give to the court in California, what types of evidence? I mean, you say that basically that they're providing material support to ISIS. So what is the evidence to show that, to prove that?
Well, one of the things is the fact that they give ISIS a vehicle in order to be able to spread its recruitment, in order to spread its propaganda and conduct operations. What's very important about this case, this is not about what ISIS writes per se. It's not about their posting. It is about their use of this system, this environment in which it allows them to freely to create and propagate their activities.
Well, here's what they say, because we've had this conversation with regards to Apple several times. They will say, well, we're an open network. It's not our responsibility. We're here to be a social network, if you will, in response to Facebook. I mean, they'll pull things down, but in a way, they kind of say they're not really responsible for that. In a sense, that was their defense with Apple.
Well, that's, the Apple situation was a very different case here. That's kind of after the fact.
The iPhone, getting into the iPhone of the.
Trying to do something after the fact to get into it. That's not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with. The Terrorism Act says that if an American is harmed by an act of international terrorism, those that provide material support to those terrorists can be found responsible. So the question here is that, do these companies allow the terrorists to act freely? Now, this is not about stopping terrorism completely, and it's not about the expectation that they're going to read every single post. But the question is could they be doing more? Like, for example, one of the things that's well known, they take a site down. Dr. ISIS, for example, Dr. ISIS 101. The next day, they bring up Dr. ISIS 102. Does it take a rocket scientist to realize that the prefix Dr. ISIS, but more importantly, is how do they reconstruct their networks?
Keith Altman, you've got to keep us posted on the progress of the suit. We realize that it's going to be playing out in California. We'd love to have you come back on, though, and keep us updated, sir.
Okay, sure.
All right.